So yeah, let's just, I think, open it up for questions. Feel free to make comments, direct a question at me, Tim, Dimas, Jem. Let's go.
Helen, I see there's a message in the chat there from Vincent, who was struggling to log on to onto the website. Vincent, I wonder if you've come right now, or would you like us to share the URL in the chat?
Maybe share the URL, I think, Jem.
I'll pop it in there just in case.
Perfect. Astrid, I saw you raising your hand. You want to?
Sure. Thanks a lot. I have a million of questions, but thanks all of you for these presentations. It's really great what you managed to build up. So this is where we never came to in the freshwater information platform. So I really, I really appreciate your work and what you have reached already. Maybe to you, Helen, when you started the work on this, why did you not use, for example, this Atlas of Living Australia, which basically is also free to use, and features a lot of similar components. So what was the decision to build up an entirely new system rather than to take something that is existing already?
Yeah, good question. I guess the Atlas, I mean, we started thinking around this in 2016, and I think the Atlas was still almost being developed at that stage. It wasn't where it is at now. And we just took the route of sort of a more localized. We never envisaged kind of expanding it initially beyond sort of the needs of South Africa. And then as we started working more closely with Kartoza, we realized that we did share a vision for, creating something that could be deployed, way beyond the borders of South Africa and benefit, many more. I can't speak much to the technical side of the Atlas of Living Australia because I'm not that familiar with it. I've just looked at it from the perspective of, using the data and accessing it. But I guess it's an equally powerful one. And I know that the JRS, there's a project in Tanzania that is actually using the ALA as the starting block for their biodiversity project. So that's about all I can really say to that.
I can also chip in a little bit, Helen, that there were some other tools that were also floated as possibilities. I think the one was Specify from the University of Kansas, I think it is. And we did a review of those tools that were proposed, and they just kind of didn't tick the boxes that we had in our feature list. I don't think I was aware of ALA at that time, so maybe, like you say, Helen, maybe it's more recent development. But we definitely did, go through the existing tools and see, could we use them? And obviously we don't want to rebuild something that somebody else already built.
Yeah, but the system,
if I could just add one more thing, I think from our initial user planning, stakeholder requirements workshop, we realized there were a lot of features that were quite specific to the South African water resource and biodiversity community. And I guess especially something like SAS, which is a locally developed system. And that's probably what spurred us on to just developing, our own brand, I guess, or version. Sorry, Astrid, you wanted to add something?
No, the system you have built up, this is just great. And I was wondering whether you plan to extend it to other African countries, or will there always different, like you have one in South Africa and one in Rwanda? And what's the possibility to actually connect these BIMs?
Yeah, we've had that conversation. We've kind of got this vision of an African, for the continent, essentially, and I mean, there are obviously some issues where each instance has slight individual specifications, but because we've taken the very generic approach to, the workings behind it, I think in theory, if there was a need and we could get, funding to kickstart it, there's no reason why one couldn't provide the sort of data for the entire continent. I mean, I do think that's totally feasible. I don't know if you want to add to that, Tim, from the technical.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the pie in the sky vision, or whatever, is to build a platform where far and wide people are using it and getting value from it. There are some logistical issues in doing that, which we've been sort of thinking about again more recently. Just for example, if each instance wants their own theme, but we want to still have it in a unified system, we've got to kind of do a little bit of under the hood tweaking to manage that kind of stuff. But I don't think any of them are technically impossible to do. It's just a question of time and funding to actually be able to sit down and figure those problems out. But yeah, we would love to see the system just become pervasive, through Africa and beyond.
I don't know whether, Tim, we have built up this freshwater information platform, and actually there was also a freshwater data portal included in there. But as always, the funding is over, and we do not maintain it anymore. So we are publishing now all the freshwater data to GBIF, and we have created a freshwater network on GBIF to easily find back freshwater data. But I would really be in favor to just build this freshwater portal again once to really serve freshwater researchers, because I don't find it very easy to find specific freshwater data on GBIF. So this is really something that we still need. And I would really love to cooperate with you and to build up this vision again and doing this freshwater portal. So Tim, I'm going to contact you on what we can do there and what it would cost, so that we can try to set up or find some funding for that.
Great. Yeah.
It sounds fantastic, Astrid. I mean, it was always one of the issues that I do have with GBIF, where they don't specify whether it's freshwater or terrestrial. So when if we create these master list of, I mean, it's obvious for fish species, they're all, aquatic, but they don't differentiate between marine or freshwater. And then for the invertebrates, they don't differentiate between the terrestrial versus the freshwater or the marine invertebrates. And so we utilize what we call master lists. So for harvesting data, I mean, there's obviously a lot behind the scenes that we haven't been able to share with you, but for example, to manage what data gets pulled down from GBIF and served through FBIS, we utilize master lists, which we create for our region, obviously South Africa, and then the Rwandan have done for Rwanda. And in that way, we can get a subset of the data that exists on GBIF.
This was actually one of my questions, how you would harvest GBIF. So you have a specific freshwater lists, and with these you harvest the freshwater data. Are you aware of the freshwater animal diversity assessment? So FADA, they have exclusive freshwater lists that are curated by experts, worldwide experts. So this would have been the backbone of our freshwater portal, because I don't trust the GBIF taxonomy in every detail when it comes to invertebrates. So we were using these FADA lists as the backbone. But if your functionality already allows to have these lists in the back for harvesting the GBIF, this would just be great. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes quite a lot to generate a master list for each, module. So won't you just pop that the link in the chat for us? Because I definitely like to explore.
I think I just found it here.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it would be useful for the team from Rwanda, also Mapendo, to explore that. Thank you for that.
Can I ask some more questions? So about the long-term funding, you seemingly have funding for the next 3 years, and after that, any ideas already? Or
yeah, so one of the things we already addressed in the current project was to look for the sort of a long-term home for the for the system, because JRS gave us the funding on the basis that it couldn't always sit with a non-profit organization, that it needed to be taken up by government, parastatal, those who are responsible for the management of biodiversity in South Africa. And So right from the get-go, we had 3 key organizations: SANBI, Biodiversity Institute, South African Institute of Aquatic Biodiversity, and SAON, the Earth Observation Network, which are the 3 main sort of biodiversity related organizations. And they've been sort of very key stakeholders and involved in the project. And this new phase of FBIS is very much focused on entrenching the value of FBIS in key decision-making processes. So for example, every 5 years, South Africa does a national biodiversity assessment, and they need data to do that. And up until now, there hasn't been a collated information source for that assessment. So what we're going to do is integrate FBIS into that output. And the same with water resource management, planning and river health assessments, the IUCN conservation assessments, environment impact assessment screening tool that's currently being developed in the country. And by working very closely with the key decision makers and users of those new decision-making tools, we're hoping that it will kind of create business plans within our government organizations and departments to provide funding for the long-term maintenance of FBIS. That's our sort of vision by the end of the next 3 years, that it would become hopefully part of SANBI, maintained probably still with FRC and Cartosa as sort of some sort of a mechanism to just keep it going, but that the organization itself or the government organizations would take ownership of it so that it didn't just disappear. Because I know I've been involved in databases in the past which kind of run out of steam and when they run out of funding, and we don't want to see that happen here. And I guess, sorry, in a way, also by sharing it with other countries in South Africa, that one could almost look at a subscription-based model where everybody who benefited from the information could pay a small amount of money, just to maintain the sort of the technological administration side for say, for example, for Cartosa. So it wouldn't be, you wouldn't charge for it, but there would need to be some sort of a small amount of funding by any organization that would benefit from it. That's another option.
Yeah, and if we set our sights a bit more ambitious to, in Africa, for example, portal, we could take the same model and just, spread it out around all the participants of the portal, and hopefully it's for no one member, it's onerous amount of money, and but together they can all fund something that's really useful for everybody.
Cool. I've got 2 other questions, if I can just move on. Thanks for those comments, Astrid, and questions. I'm sure that's been useful for everybody. Emmanuel, and then has raised his hands. Emmanuel, would you like to direct your question?
Yeah, thanks, Helen and the team. Very good presentations. Just to follow up what you said, Helen, I was much more intrigued with the engagement with policymakers. So I wanted to learn from you how you have managed to start engaging them, because quite often these databases, it takes an uphill road to really get them buy into it, and therefore it affects sustainability. So what sort of mechanism have you put in place to ensure that the government, and particularly the decision-making tools which you have embedded in these databases, are very important and very critical, very nice? How are you getting the buy-in?
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend, getting everybody who may benefit from the data involved right from the get-go, so that they take ownership of the system, and it's not a system that FRC and Cartosa developed and then we hand over hoping that somebody's going to use it to make meaningful decisions. But if we bring, by bringing in SANBI and our Water Resource Department and Environment Affairs, and show them the value of right at the start, that sort of brought them to the party. I mean, it's still a work in progress. We definitely don't have all the answers, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in South Africa who don't even know of FBIS yet. And so we will, in the past project and in the current project, we'll put a lot of emphasis in, presenting to various departments, as well as academic conferences and at universities for students and government departments that are mandated to sort of capture data themselves and, train data providers in providing the data. And then, so that's the one, is getting the knowledge about the system out there in a broader way. And then the other emphasis, I think, to kind of is my thing I've used before, is to sort of use a carrot, not a stick. So create reports and dashboards that somebody who wants to use it in a decision-making process can very easily get that summary data and provide it to even policymakers, high-level policymakers. Our dashboard that we've got, right at the start, you see the key modules and the level of native versus non-native species, so that it's very high-level stuff. So you can say to, we've got 400,000 biodiversity records, and this is the state of our system. And we can build in other things like customized reports that end up in the email of a water resource manager, so that it's very hard to then ignore if it's arriving in your inbox. That's sort of a vision for the future. I don't know if that answers your question adequately, Emmanuel. If you want to add.
Thanks very much. That's
Can I jump in
helpful.
there?
Yeah.
Jim.
Cool. I think, and to build on what Helen was saying already, and leading into the next project, which we're starting now, is the one thing that we did to try and connect the data and the platform to policy and decision making was to identify what are the tools that are already sort of feeding into that high level decision making, and how can we build links to feed reliable data from the FBIS into those tools. So we put quite a bit of work into identifying what those tools are. And in South Africa, there's a few of them. There's our national biodiversity assessments, which happen every 5 years, which Helen mentioned. There's a new tool for serving data into environmental impact assessments, so that basically developments don't happen where we know there's sensitive species, for example. And there are a few others of those kinds of things. So instead of actually going directly to decision makers, in those cases, we're also trying to really tap into the existing tools and feed data into those as strategically as possible. So yeah, that's another way we're trying to do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Chikondi, you had a question or hand raised earlier. Do you still want to ask a question? Or anybody else?
No, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Ah, Astrid, you still here? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
Astrid, can I just let Francis?
Yeah, sure.
And then we'll come back to you.
Yes, no, yeah, very nice presentations. Let's put a bit of a context why I'm here. So I'm actually involved in the Birdie project together with Sandy, so at the same JRS funding. And I think there, yeah, we definitely have to see if there can be also a bit of an overlap. We are more focusing on the data modeling, let's say, and looking there to create the data mart and so on. So a bit different from what you are doing, but still the visualization and everything, yeah, what's behind it's really nice work. But so that's a separate conversation we might have afterwards or with Nancy. But I wanted to pick in on what Astrid was saying with the FADA. So I've been working at Ardent, which actually has been involved in that, and they might have been involved with you, the people like Eike and Andre. So maybe we could set up. They might be interested in this work as well, to know from their perspective if they can contribute, if they see opportunities and how to to work on this and upscale it. So I don't know. I will put a little bit of extra information in the chat for that.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
So yeah.
Just to add, Francis, this was certainly my intention, because as Arbins is one of the partners of the Freshwater Information Platform, I would have included them here anyway in this conversation.
Yeah, okay.
So, but great for pointing this out. Thank you.
Yeah, good. So yeah, no, I just wanted to put a bit of my context in this as well. But I haven't been working on the FADA myself, so I can do my colleagues. Perfect.
Thanks so much. Perfect. Astrid, if you would like, if you have another question, you're welcome.
Yeah, this was related to the quality control. So if someone is uploading data, you said the expert will check these entries. So how is this done? I mean, I can imagine this works good for fishes, but for invertebrates, I'm not so sure. And it's for me, it's always a question of how do you fund this expert? So if you upload lists of thousands of invertebrates and each record is validated by an expert, this is quite an amount of work.
Yeah, we acknowledged right at the get-go that it would be a lot easier to do for fish, because also we have a number of fish experts in the country and we could sort of share the load. But for aquatic invertebrates and SAS data, I guess with SAS we have an accreditation process, so we know the person who has done the assessment has gone through the accreditation and their data is sort of theoretically of a higher quality. But for somebody adding invertebrate data, I mean, it's not going to be possible to go and check if that's a valid record. So we've included things like expected geographical ranges and used existing taxa that have been present within a primary catchment as sort of the underlying validation process. But each record it doesn't become automatically available on the system. I mean, it is visible on the system, but it's flagged as non-validated. And then an expert or an administrator would accept the data. But I mean, the reality is not every single invertebrate record is going to be checked and individually checked going forward. It'll be more reliant on the history of the practitioner, there's some sort of credibility of the person who's done the assessment, and with published papers and that the assumption it's been through peer reviewed and what have you. So the validation process is still something we're wanting to improve on. So it will be together with the ARBIS and the FBIS project and any others that come on board, we will be trying to fine tune that so that we can be sure of the data quality and reliability of the data.
And this is also related to the question of the endemism. You said it's microendemic if it only appears in one river system. So is this something that is in the background database, or is this something that you validate from the actual occurrence records? So as soon as you have a second record from a second river system, it's not microendemic anymore.
Yeah. This is something that's linked to that master list of species or taxa that I mentioned for each group. So for our fish species, where we have, some species that literally occur in one river system, we came up with this classification in terms of endemism, from widespread to a national endemic to two regional endemics and then a microendemic. And it's based on actual distribution records. So I guess if we were fortunate enough to find a micro level endemic one in a second river, it would have to be very well validated, because that would be a sort of an unexpected observation. But if it was legitimate and validated, then I guess the endemism level would then change to micro level endemic 2, because it's in more than one river system. But that's species or taxon specific.
But this is not done automatically, so someone has to change it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Laban, your hand's up. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Helen, for the good presentation. And thank you to everyone at Katoza also for the good presentations. I do not have a question. Mine is a comment. I appreciate the work on spatial data and visualizations. And what I would like to say is that in our teams here, we are not yet at par with what we have seen in the information system in as far as spatial data and visualizations are concerned. So would like to get in touch as soon as possible to discuss mechanisms that we can use to harness the opportunities at Katoza to improve these two aspects in our systems. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Laban. Yes, you're going to be presenting in 4 weeks' time, so we'll see more about your system. But you know, this exactly speaks to the vision that we have: is let's expand the reach of this information system. And so please just get in touch with myself and Tim, and we can, you know, see in which way that we can create synergies for, you know, improving the visualization and the spatial side of the system that I think you've already developed, eh? Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Helen, oh, go for it.
Oh, okay. So this is Chikondi. During the presentation, I joined a little bit late, but during the presentation, at some point, I heard Astrid mention that they don't kind of trust the taxon listing on GBIF, and they use an alternative source. So I just wanted to know, because we've been working with fish data, and we also use Fishbase, but I was working a bit on pollinator data with the Luana pollinator project, and we had a similar problem where I couldn't kind of find a credible source for pollinator taxonomical listings. So I just thought that maybe this could be a problem with many other biodiversity fields of study. And I'm kind of wondering whether there could be a solution which could work in any field where we might have working. I know for fish it's not a problem, but for as you move from fish to other fields, I kind of am beginning to foresee this problem popping up. So maybe a comment from Astrid or from you, Helen, on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chikondi. Yeah, I mean, I know GBIF is not ideal for all taxonomic groups, and it's also a little bit behind, certainly with our fish species, but I don't know, you know, if one's looking at doing, like, developing a taxonomic backbone using one system for multiple groups, I don't know if there's a better alternative to GBIF, because maybe one should look at rather improving the taxonomic backbone within GBIF where it's not like 100%. I'm very happy for Astrid to take this further, because I'm sure you're probably more knowledgeable about it than me.
Well, I have been discussing this with GBIF actually already a long time, that we really want to have this FADA list as freshwater taxonomic backbone in GBIF. Okay. But yeah, as always, things got stuck and I need to follow up on this. But this certainly would be our intention, to have fully curated freshwater taxonomic lists and then put them as backbone into GBIF. This is the long-term aim that I have until my retirement.
Yeah, no, I mean, that will be fantastic, because then, you know, we can still use the same architecture we've developed, but that we can be more comfortable with the reliance and the reliability of the taxonomic backbone.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Any other questions, comments?
Helen, I had just a sort of question, and it just links back to something that was mentioned earlier And maybe it's just asking Astrid if she has any further advice on something we've already chatted about, which is platform sustainability. And I think it's it's something that's really relevant to all of the projects that are involved in this series. And Astrid, you know, apart from what Helen has already outlined for our thinking in terms of sustaining the FBIS platform, do you have any other pearls of wisdom or schools of thought or things to throw into the mix there for this looming challenge of platform sustainability?
Well, thanks for this question. It's really good, and as you see, we also struggle with that. So we could not maintain our data portal because of this funding issue. So we really have to think up some new ideas. And I'm also hosting another platform which deals with species traits. And here I really want to try the approach that Helen also mentioned, that we ask people using this platform to just give us a little bit of contribution. So for the freshwater ecology database, I know we have over 2,000 users. So if each of them would give 20 euros or 10 euros a year, then we could easily maintain it. And I think we have to come up with such a system, because we cannot wait to get something from politicians. So in the EU, it's the case, you have a research project, you build up something fancy. They always want tools and things online, but they never provide the money for maintaining them, these things. And that's why we created this freshwater information platform, which also is a result from different research projects. And then we said, no, we don't want to lose this information. And 4 institutions from Europe united, and they are putting in some personal money in there to just maintain this. But this was not enough money to maintain the portal. We have maintained the rest of it, so all the information is still there. So yeah, I don't have any lightning ideas. I only would want to add all your different data portals that you have in Africa to this freshwater information platform, to increase the visibility and increase also the voice.
Thanks, Astrid.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can see it's an international problem. We're all grappling with it, and I think it's the legacy of cyclical funding, you know, and those institutional support and business plan development. I think it's.
I really think that's why we should all unite. We should not have all these different portals, but we should try to unite this in one place. So that's, to my mind, it would increase the possibility that we get some funding in the end.
Yeah,
it would be great. I mean, there's just a social issue of, you know, everybody, not invented here. Everybody wants, you know, to bring their own set of ideas, and so finding a way that we could make the platform attractive for everybody to want to put their data on it, and, you know, meet all their concerns is the challenge, I think, and one that we're up for trying to figure out. But I think it's still, you know, is a challenge.
But with this BIM system, it seems very easy to me. So each country can have their own platform with their own dashboards, and then we just create master BIMs, which just harvest the data from all these different platforms. Just a light version, so to say, maybe only presence absence information without the abiotic features and so on. So I have a vision.
Great. Yeah, I mean, we've been in the side chat, in case the others in the call have not been watching, we've been talking about setting up like a special interest meeting. So perhaps we can dig into these ideas a bit in a separate call. And anybody else who's in this call, feel free to come along if you want to join in the plan for world domination for FBIS.
Oh. Wonderful. Good. Any burning questions or more comments, or maybe we can. No one's waving their hands frantically. Good, then I think I'll just thank you all for coming and joining us, and for all the constructive comments and questions and fruitful discussions. Second in our series. It's been great to share with you our journey. There's so much more we could say, but I guess got to save something for another session. And yeah, please feel free to reach out and make contact, Laban and Astrid and anyone else who feels the potential synergies between what we've done and how we could further extend the reach of what we've done, because that's really what we're about, is collaborating and sharing knowledge, and that's definitely at the foundation of Kartoza's MO as well. So thank you all very much. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to hear from the ARBIS, the Rwanda group, Beth and Mapendo and Elias, which is the second, well, another version instance of FBIS, but it's taken it a few steps beyond and customized it for their own information needs. So I'll send out a reminder about that. And, feel free, if you have colleagues who you think would benefit, just send me an email. I'll add them to the distribution list. I have added a lot of Nancy's colleagues. Francis, thanks for joining us today. And yeah, we'll keep moving and discussing it. And maybe by the end of our sessions, we'll all be richer for our sharing and collaboration. So thank you, Jeremy and Tim and Dimas, for everything. And unless there are any other comments, we can sign off.
Thanks, Helen and Jeremy and everybody else.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you next time.